Welcome to this explainer. Right off the bat, I want you to imagine trying to build an absolutely airtight murder conviction without a body. Today, we're diving straight into a multi-year investigation to see exactly how detectives managed to pull off the near impossible. It's a case that forces us to look really closely at the painstaking forensic and digital work that's required to bring a killer to justice when literally all physical traces of the crime seem to have vanished. So the core question we are investigating today is this: how do you let a victim speak when they've completely vanished into thin air? When there's no crime scene and zero DNA, law enforcement has to rely entirely on timelines, digital footprints, and human psychology to drag the truth into the light. Part 1, A Mother Vanishes. We're starting our investigation in early spring 2021 down in Coweta County, Georgia, with the sudden, alarming disappearance of 35-year-old Tiffany Foster Starks. It's a tight-knit rural community, so you know when someone simply drops off the map like that, it immediately sets off major alarms for the people who know them best. Look at how incredibly fast these red flags pop up. On March 1st, Tiffany sends a totally routine text to her mom about going shopping. That was it, her last known digital communication. By the very next day, March 2nd, she misses her college class and is officially reported missing. And then by March 5th, she completely no-shows for her scheduled work shift. We're not talking about a gradual fade-out here. This was an abrupt, dead stop. To really understand why this timeline was so terrifying, we have to look at exactly who Tiffany was. She was an incredibly dedicated mother of three and a highly driven student pursuing a career in law enforcement at Georgia Military College. She also worked as a corrections officer. She was known to her family for her big goals, her active social media presence, and this incredibly loud, contagious laugh. It was immediately obvious to anyone who loved her that a woman this focused on her children and her future wouldn't just walk away from her life. No way. Part 2, Red Flags and Alibis. As detectives start digging into those crucial days following her disappearance, their focus naturally turns to the man closest to her at the time, Tiffany's fiancé Reginald Robertson, or Reggie. And almost immediately, his constantly shifting alibis raise some serious suspicion. Now, what's really wild here is the stark contrast between Reggie's casual little story and the actual reality of the situation. He tried to play it cool, claiming she just went out to run errands in her brand new car while he took a nap. But the reality? She left her kids behind. She wasn't answering her phone, and when Reggie was brought in for a routine polygraph test, he flat out failed it. Not only that, he actually started throwing out these wild, unverified tips just to distract investigators. Then, a massive break happens when Nissan uses their internal tracking system to ping her vehicle. Finding her car sitting 30 miles away in College Park? Well, that immediately ruled out a simple robbery. Why? Because her purse and her credit card were literally still sitting right inside. But here is the incredibly frustrating part. The car's interior was surgically clean. It offered absolutely zero forensic clues about a struggle, leaving detectives with a vehicle, sure, but absolutely no idea what happened to its driver. Part 3, The Neighbor's Confession. Just as the physical investigation hits a total brick wall, a tip leads law enforcement to Reggie's neighbor, a mechanic named Jeremy Walker, and he shifts the entire trajectory of this case. Jeremy lived in the exact same apartment complex and frequently worked on cars. When detectives finally sit him down, his story changes everything. Jeremy's admission gave detectives exactly what they needed. He openly admitted that Reggie asked him to follow him to drop off Tiffany's car in the dead of night. This was a brilliant strategic move by law enforcement. It allowed police to lock Reggie into the justice system on a theft charge, keeping him off the streets while they desperately searched for Tiffany. Part 4, A History of Violence. So while Reggie's locked up on that vehicle charge, and he was actually even rearrested for prowling right outside Jeremy's apartment, detectives uncover a terrifying secret from November 2020. This exposes a severe, hidden history of domestic abuse that Tiffany had been enduring in absolute silence. This next detail is just chilling. It stems from a 911 hang-up call months before she vanished. Police tracked it to a traffic stop involving Reggie and Tiffany. When the officer asked what was wrong, a terrified Tiffany actually whispered that she couldn't speak because Reggie would kill her. Detectives later found out Reggie had taken her to an abandoned house, zip-tied her to a recliner, and threatened her with a gun, accusing her of cheating. Just horrific stuff. But despite all his intense manipulation, Tiffany bravely stood her ground. She texted him that his actions were exactly what they were,
Recovering these text messages was an absolute game changer. It allowed prosecutors to hit Reggie with severe charges, which importantly kept him behind bars while the missing person case slowly, agonizingly went cold.
Part 5. Digital Breadcrumbs. Let's fast forward to 2023. The physical trail is entirely cold at this point, but a new detective is assigned to the case. He literally pulls out banker's boxes full of documents, determined to piece together the digital puzzle Reggie and Jeremy left behind, starting completely from scratch. This is where we see some incredibly meticulous, step-by-step digital forensic work that perfectly dismantled Reggie's alibi. They proved he was gathering the tools to conceal a body. The detective found deleted audio files on Reggie's phone where he's sending these highly threatening voice memos to Tiffany. Then, they pull ATM footage of Reggie and Jeremy actively using Tiffany's card. But the most damning piece of all? They track down receipts showing Jeremy and Reggie purchasing a shovel and bolt cutters, using Tiffany's own credit card to pay for it. Unbelievable. And then you have Reggie's own, careless, cold words to cellmates and family members just stacking up into this mountain of undeniable circumstantial guilt. He literally looked his own half-brother dead in the eye while driving Tiffany's car and delivered that exact chilling line. He was just way too confident, and honestly, it was becoming his total undoing. Part 6. Justice without a body. Armed with this incredibly precise timeline and that horrifying digital evidence, plus the solid proof of severe past abuse, prosecutors finally took both men to trial in 2023. They were determined to get a murder conviction, which, as we know, is exceptionally hard to pull off without ever recovering the victim's remains. Let's take a look at the actual trial results. It took the jury just 6 hours to deliver sweeping, guilty verdicts based entirely on this circumstantial puzzle. Reggie was convicted of malice murder, kidnapping, and rape, resulting in a staggering 3 consecutive life terms plus 80 years. Jeremy Walker was found guilty of concealing a death and theft, which landed him a 10-year sentence. But what finally pushed that jury over the edge? The absolute final nail in the coffin came when Reggie's own cousin took the stand and relayed this brutal, specific confession. Reggie had actually confided the exact horrifying details to him. He tased her, taped her up, drove her to an unknown location, and shot her. It was the horrific truth the family had been dreading all along. Reggie is going to spend the rest of his natural life in a cage, but he still holds on to one terrible secret. We want to leave you with this final, truly heartbreaking question about control, domestic abuse, and a family's ongoing search for true closure. Investigators fully believe that keeping her location a secret is Reggie's final twisted act of power. What do you think it will actually take for him to finally give this family the closure they so desperately deserve? Keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining us on this explainer.